Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is a review of the 2020 comic book superhero film, Wonder Woman, 1984. Now, this is honestly one of those films that I was actually looking forward to. And that actually means something because I didn't like the first film. I thought the first film was overhyped, overrated, boring, and ultimately not very good. But I saw the teaser trailer for this film, and it honestly blew me away. I thought it looked like a really promising film. I thought, in terms of its story, it seemed like it was going to do something a little bit more unique and different in comparison to the first film, which really just felt like it was the first Avenger, but with a new coat of paint and a few things that were rearranged. And I just love the way that the film looked in the trailer, the visual style, the flair, the aesthetic. I thought it was really well edited. It had a very tight pace and overall feel to it. It looked like it might be a fun comic book popcorn movie. I also liked the fact that it was taking place in the 80s, and I loved the instrumental track that was used in the teaser trailer. It was a remix of Blue Monday, and I thought that was just an awesome bit of music. And yeah, I was actually looking forward to it. And then I got around to checking it out, and it was terrible. And trust me, it honestly pains me right now to be saying that, because I wanted this to be good. I wanted this to be great. And you know that quote from Maxwell Lord that is a meme nowadays, where it's like, life is good, but it could be better. Well, this movie isn't good, and it could be better. Now, Wonder Woman 1984, or as I like to call it, Woeful Woman 1984, because I honestly can think of 1,984 different ways that this film sucks. It's like a expensive, fancy, flashy sports car. Like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini that has some broken parts. The engine is not working properly. When it runs really well. And it's fast, and it's flashy, and it's fun. But when it doesn't run, when it stalls out, it's a piece of garbage. And sadly, Wonder Woman 1984, it stalls out most of the time. The moments when it runs well are very fleeting and very few, and not enough to really make the film good, let alone average. It's one of those movies, after you see it, initially you're kind of like, it wasn't good, but, you know, I did like a few scenes, and I've seen worse. But the more you think about it, the less and less you like it. The more you think about the film, the more you realize the blunders. You realize all the woeful aspects of it. The film was directed by Patty Jenkins, and I thought her direction was nothing special. And I felt the same way about her direction in Wonder Woman, that got like a ton of acclaim and praise. I don't see it with Patty Jenkins. I saw it with Catherine Bigelow. Even in her earlier work like Near Dark and Blue Steel. I saw it with Rachel Talalay, with Tank Girl and Freddy's Dead. I saw it with Mary Lambert with Pet Sematary. Rachel Talalay, I thought, really did a noteworthy and amazing job with her first two films with Freddy's Dead and Tank Girl. Tank Girl in particular is a very innovative film, and the direction is unbelievably creative. And I've always felt that Rachel deserves way more credit for that. And Rachel, to me, showed way more promise than anything that I've ever seen from Patty Jenkins. She seems like a nice gal, but I'm not impressed. I've seen much better work by other female filmmakers in the past and in the present. I think a different director actually would have done this film some good. I definitely feel if they're going to do another one, please bring someone else in. Bring in a new voice. Bring in a new vision. I think that'll definitely help this franchise if they consider to keep it going. The direction is just average. It's not anything that is going to make you go wow or make your jaw drop. There are some sequences that are quite beautiful. I will give Patty and the cinematographer credit for those. There's a scene where Diana and Steve are in the invisible jet and they're flying through the sky and there's fireworks in the air. I think that's a really gorgeous looking shot. I would say it's arguably the best shot in the film and honestly might be the best scene in the entire movie. There are some other shots that look pretty promising as well and actually look quite stunning. Uh, some of the shots of Wonder Woman soaring through the air, and some of the other sequences throughout the film, like when Diana has her golden armor on. I really felt the way they shot the armor really made that armor shine. And that's what makes the use of the armor even more frustrating and disappointing. But yeah, it's just one of those films where directing wise, the action scenes, it seems like she's either going too far with it in terms of putting the pedal to the metal or full throttle, or she's not doing nearly enough. And when it comes to sequences that are supposed to be comedic, there's no comedic timing, so they just come across as very awkward and the opposite of funny or charming. And when it comes to performances, I don't feel she really gets the best from her cast. I understand with this cast in particular, she doesn't have a lot to work with. Gal Gadot is an incredibly limited actress in terms of her range. Chris Pine isn't much better, but she's not doing them any favors. It seems like from what I saw in this film, she was a little too nice. She didn't step in and really get more out of her cast when scenes weren't really playing out as well as they could. Better directors would be willing to put themselves out there and go out and see when something's not working and do what they can to make it better. And I never really saw that with a lot of the performances in this film. There's a scene that's supposed to be really emotional where Gal Gadot, she's supposed to say goodbye to Steve one last time, and it wasn't effective in the slightest because Gal Gadot, the way that the scene was shot, the way that she delivered her lines, the way that she showed the expressions on her face, and the emotion was so fake. It didn't come across as authentic. And a better director would say, cut. I need something real. And if we're going to have a hard time really getting the most out of this scene, then we'll find a way to work around it. Because that's the thing. It seems like she didn't really know how to work with her actor's strengths. Instead, she has these actors in a lot of moments where they come across weak or really dull in terms of their performances, or like there's just too much. Like with Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, he's chewing up every fucking bit of scenery he gets his hands on. Like he's Gene Hackman in Superman the movie, but he's nowhere near as talented of an actor or of a personality as Gene. So it just doesn't work, and it's nothing but cringe. And a better director would be like, you're at an 11, and I need you at a 5 or a 6. Thank you. But no. And it's not something that's only exclusive to female directors, in case anybody wants to make that argument. There are a lot of other instances where you will see the same thing. You'll see directors who they play with their actors with kids' gloves and don't really push them as far as they can go. And I really feel that was very evident with what you see on the screen with this film. And I know she was trying to do a homage to Richard Donner and his Superman films with the style and some of the visuals and the tone. But she even failed at doing that. Because it didn't even come across like a genuine homage or respectful take on Richard Donner's Superman. It felt more like a pale imitation of the wrong Richard. Instead of Richard Donner, it came across as a pale imitation of Richard Lester from Superman 2 and Superman 3. With the really awful, campy attempts at humor that Richard Lester got a ton of criticism for in Superman 3, but in Superman 3, it's handled way better. It's actually genuinely funny and charming. Because of the physical comedy, I really feel Richard Lester is a much better director when it comes to displaying physical comedy. So when you're trying to do that kind of stuff and you're not really that good at directing physical comedy, it's not good. It's really substandard, and it's usually not very funny. And I definitely felt that was the case with this film and how it was directed. And yes, the direction is probably not the biggest problem this film has, but it's just one of many, one of 1,984. Arguably, the biggest blunder, though, is the screenplay, which for some reason needed 3 writers. One of the writers was Patty Jenkins. So you have Patty Jenkins, Geoff Johns, and Dave Callaham. And I know Geoff Johns, I think he was actually working with DC at one point, and he actually had worked in comics, which makes this script really stand out in terms of how bad it is. Because you got a guy who was involved with comics, and it's such a fucking clusterfuck. It's a mess. This screenplay is the result of 3 screenwriters playing a game of whack-a-mole with different concepts, ideas, themes, and plot points. And for each one that they actually managed to land a hit on, there are 6, 7, or 8 others that they completely whiff on hitting. And when you have a screenplay where you have all these ideas and all these things, and you whiff on the majority of them, you have a bad screenplay. And you wind up having a bad movie as a result. And this is a poster child for why you should not apply that strategy. Stop writing films as if they are games of whack-a-mole, darts, or throwing shit on a wall and seeing if it will stick. Because there's just so many different things going on here. You have this stuff in the beginning, which is a flashback to Diana when she was a kid doing some kind of competition, which is really, it's kind of like American Ninja Warrior or something, meets a triathlon. And there's this theme about not cheating and not taking the shortcut, which is a really lazy bit of foreshadowing for what would happen later on in the movie. And they're trying to establish some other stuff like the origin of the golden armor and all of that. But yeah, you have this scene. It just feels like filler. It didn't really even actually need to be there. It's teaching a lesson that could have been taught without the flashback. It just seemed like it was an excuse to open up the film with something that was somewhat exciting, but I didn't even find it to be that exciting because it never really gave me a reason to care about this competition. And also, I don't even think that Diana did the wrong thing. The shortcut that she was taking, in some instances, like in a battle, for instance, would actually benefit her and her fellow Amazonian warriors. But, you know, that's just me. And then you get this whole thing where it takes place in the 80s, and this completely fucks up the continuity that was set up in Batman vs. Superman, which is another issue. I hate it when people write screenplays and they're supposed to be a part of a franchise and they don't do their research to make sure that everything fits. So it takes place in the 80s, and in Batman vs. Superman, it said that Wonder Woman disappeared for centuries until she came back for Batman vs. Superman. And it's like, well, now that doesn't make any sense because she was going around in malls and saving people and stopping robbers and shit and doing all this kind of stuff. I mean, how do you work this? How does the continuity work now? You just fucked it. You fucked it up. And I mean, I'm not even a fan of Batman vs. Superman. But, I mean, it's the most basic thing. If you're trying to make an interconnected series of films, you need to make sure you are doing everything you possibly can to make things fit together. That's one thing Marvel definitely has got down. Normally, they don't do this kind of stuff. And I actually can't really think of many instances where they have. And if they have done it, it's very rare. But that's just a minor... That's just a little minor issue when it comes to this screenplay. There are way more issues that are much more severe. Like the whole Wish thing. The whole Wish plot is dumb. It doesn't work for a feature film. Even as a comic book concept, it's really not something that can really work out because there's so many different factors in place and so many different ways that logically this would not work. And this is the kind of thing that if there was somebody in the room with these three writers that could sit them down after they explain their pitch for this Evil Wishes movie with Wonder Woman trying to stop the Wishmaster, you might have had a moment where they scrapped it and went in a different direction. And I really think they should have done that. Because when you do this wish thing, you set yourself up to fail. And the reason for that is it's either going to be too predictable in terms of how everything is going to unfold. I predicted exactly how this film was going to end hours before it ended. So you have, okay, this guy, there's wishes, and this guy becomes the wish stone, and he takes people's wishes, and because everything needs to escalate to a point where Wonder Woman has to get involved, everyone's going to make bad wishes. Things are going to go to hell in a handbasket. It's going to be utter chaos. It's going to be an apocalypse, World War III, you name it. Everything is just crazy. And Wonder Woman's going to do something and make people renounce their wishes. And that's exactly what happened. And if you're going to do that, at least be more original with the wishes. Go out there, go crazy, do different sort of stuff. Like maybe some guy, he's trans and he asks to be, transformed into a woman or something, or, all these other things that are just a little more creative and breaking boundaries in good and bad ways. That would be a good way. Then you'd have other ones where somebody might, wish for some crazy thing. And you could also play around with it and be funny. You could have all these kids who are wishing for, ponies. Maybe this kid, I wish I was an astronaut. And then there's a kid in space. Just all this kind of, there's a lot of these things that you could do and play around with wishes, with comedy, with horror, with all these different sort of things. You could have had all different kinds of genres working at once in this movie, and they don't even do that. It's the laziest shit. They're wishes. Literally, you could have anything happen, and it would be justified and would work in the film because it's a comic book movie anyway. You could have people, they got superpowers, all this other stuff. But no, you don't do that. You take the easy way out. And why are all the wishes bad? See, that's the thing too. Why are all the wishes bad? That was predictable. I knew that was going to happen. But also, I didn't think that every single wish was going to be bad. I knew that there were going to be a lot of them and it was going to cause everything to be insane. And that's why you need Wonder Woman. But I didn't think that they were all going to be bad and selfish. Nobody asked for world peace, a cure for cancer. Nobody asked for any of those things. And also, it's absurd, even in a comic book film, to expect that every single person across the entire globe is going to renounce their wish. There's going to be people who are assholes, who aren't going to renounce shit, and then you're going to have people who made a wish and it came true and it's made their life better, and maybe at their particular part of the world everything isn't crazy, so maybe they think they could work with it. And also with the whole thing with all these wishes, why couldn't somebody just make a wish and be like, you know what? I wish that all of this was, all this chaos and everything was back to normal. Why could somebody make that wish? I mean, you don't think that people are going to be seeing all this crazy stuff, seeing that we're on the brink of World War III? There's not going to be a single person who's watching Lord's broadcast who's going to be like, you know what, I don't want this. This looks like it's Armageddon. I'm going to wish for this to go away. That's the issue with this wishes thing. They should have went in a different direction. And Maxwell Lord's a shitty villain anyway. He's weak. He's a 99-cent store Lex Luthor. And you have Cheetah, and she feels horribly underused. And she is supposed to be one of Wonder Woman's biggest rivals and enemies. Why wasn't the film just focusing on Cheetah? Just find some apocalyptic device or weapon or something, or maybe she has some kind of power or whatever. You could figure something out. It's a comic book movie. But no, instead we got this 99-cent store Lex Luthor trying to be the fucking Wishmaster, and it's lame, and it's dumb, it's daft, and completely idiotic. And then if that isn't bad enough, speaking of Cheetah, the way they handle that is so cliche. That's another problem. There are way too many cliches in this script that just scream of laziness. Like, they didn't give a fuck. Oh, whatever. She's just a nerdy girl who wears glasses and is not confident in herself. And it's like, oh, great. Really? We need to have that trope again? We haven't seen that enough? Yeah, the 11 billion times that we've seen that trope is not enough. We need another one. We need to have 11 billion and one instances of that trope with the nerdy girl with the glasses who's fumbling around and all of that nonsense. At this point, just stop. Can we come up with some other thing, or can we put a twist on it, or can we use another cliche in its place? Because I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm done with the nerd with the glasses who's not popular or is awkward and then becomes a supervillain. I'm beyond done with that shit. And then you have other things like this ridiculous fucking bullshit in the end that's trying to make you feel for Maxwell Lord. He's telling his kid that he's a bad guy, and his dad, and you know, his dad. I don't know about Maxwell Lord's dad. We don't really know that much about his dad. But this film's just so bad that it's like just scrambling my brain cells. I apologize. But yeah, the scene near the end, after everything that Maxwell Lord has done, where he almost caused World War III and the end of the fucking world as we know it, there's this scene where they're trying to make the audience sympathize with him, where he's with his kid and he's telling his kid that he's a bad guy and he hopes that he would love him, and his kid is like, I'll love you, Daddy. I'll always love you, Daddy. And they hug, and then you never even see him go to jail. He never even gets any comeuppance on screen. What is this? Why the fuck should I sympathize with Maxwell Lord? He's an asshole. It'd be like sympathizing with Lex Luthor. Like, what if at the end of Superman the movie, you find out Lex has only been doing all of this because his nephew Lenny was in trouble or whatever, or he just wanted to give his nephew Lenny everything because, you know, he couldn't really provide him enough, or like Lenny's not his nephew anymore, it's his son, so he wanted to give his son everything he could. But he let it get to his head. He wanted to give him his own city. And then you never see Lex get sent to jail. I'm having a hard time putting sentences together with that whole thing because it's so fucking stupid and unbelievably awful. And then you got other things that you think it might just be a little thing, but they just add up in this movie. The golden armor. What even was the point of that? The only point of the golden armor was for it to look cool in the trailer. That's it. Because there was not even an actual reason why Wonder Woman needed to be wearing it to begin with. She got her powers back. The soldiers or the armed guards that she fought, she could have taken them out without the armor. It does nothing to help her even the odds with Cheetah, because Cheetah just slices through the armor like it's a hot knife through butter. So what was even the fucking point? It made more sense when she didn't have her powers, when she was losing her powers. That's where I thought they were going with it. And then she just gets her powers back and still puts the armor on? Why? That'd be like if in Superman 2, once Superman gets his powers back, he shows up to fight Zod and the other Kryptonian criminals wearing Kryptonian armor. You'd be like, why? This isn't necessary. Like, what even is the fucking point of that? And speaking of things that are not necessary, that whole thing with Steve Trevor and his spirit inhabiting the body of a random guy. What the fuck was that? Like, the writers really needed somebody in the room to be like, are you sure you want to do this? Because I don't know about you. I think this whole wish thing, it's a dumb idea. You have her wearing golden armor for no reason. You also have a scene where Steve Trevor is brought back because of a wish that Diana made, and he inhabits the body of a random guy, and Diana has sex with him. Don't you think that's a little creepy or a little messed up? Can we not do that? Can we do something else? Why do we have to do it that way anyway? In this script, a wish just causes a wall to come up out of nowhere. Just appear out of thin air. So why not just have Steve Trevor back alive? Why do we have to do this? This is skeevy and just wrong. But no, you didn't have anybody who was in the room to be like, you know what? You might not want to do that. So they did it. It's just fucked up. There's no consent. The guy's basically getting screwed by another woman, and he's not saying it's okay. If the roles were reversed, and it was a woman that was being treated this way, there would be a firestorm of controversy. But since it's not a woman being treated this way and being used as a sex object, really, it's acceptable? And then you just have this really terrible tone throughout as well. The screenwriters don't know how to have a accurate or balanced tone. You'll have scenes that are trying to be goofy and campy, like a Richard Lester Superman film. And then you'll have other scenes where they're trying to be serious, dealing with family drama and other things. And none of them really click together. And when it comes to the creativity of other things, the creativity of the action scenes, there's not a lot. It's pretty barren in that regard. The finale, I mean, lame with a capital L. After all of his build-up, Maxwell Lord's just standing in what might as well be a fucking transporter in Star Trek. As there's like all this light coming down on him, and he's collecting all these wishes and becoming super powerful. But you never see him do anything with the power. He just stands there in a fucking circle. And then Wonder Woman just throws her lasso in and says some shitty Hallmark card message and gets everybody to renounce their wish. And then why did everybody conveniently forget everything, too? As if they got hit by the neuralizer and Men in Black. Just you don't remember anything. But I remember, like, it was just chaos. We were on the brink of World War III. Why are we all acting like we're in a greeting card commercial for the holidays? Shouldn't we be a little more leery and upset and kind of freaked out by what happened? I don't know. Nah. Everything's just back to normal as if nobody remembered a fucking thing. They just forgot. Like I forgot most of this movie after I saw it. Yeah, this screenplay is just one blunder after another. got the characterization, which also sucks in terms of character development. You don't really care at all about the character of Cheetah. You don't feel for her as much as the film is trying to make you feel for her. I don't. I don't feel for Barbara that much, especially when she goes too far. And I don't. I just didn't really care. I was very indifferent about it. The whole thing with Diana and Steve, it doesn't work as well as they wanted to because of the stupid decision to make it so Steve's spirit is inhabiting this guy's body. Why? You didn't have to do that. It just made everything weird for no reason. And Maxwell Lord and his kid, I don't fucking care. So yeah, bad screenplay. And then the performances by the cast. Gal Gadot, she's a horrible actress. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. She sucks. She has an incredibly limited range as an actor. She's not believable when it comes to emoting anything other than a stern look on her face. When she's trying to be sad or emotional, it's pathetic. It's not authentic. It's not believable. Chris Pine outacted her to the millionth degree in scenes, and he doesn't have that big of a range either as an actor. Gal Gadot, I've said it before and I'll say it again. She doesn't have what it takes to carry a film, to carry a franchise, and to continue to have a consistently good or even above average career going forward. She'll get what she can get from the buzz and from her appearances in these movies, and then it will be tight from there on out. Because she's not good enough. She wasn't good enough, period. She did nothing to even deserve to get this role and to be the headliner of a franchise from what she did previously. She had a bit role in a Fast and the Furious sequel, and she did some modeling, and she did a few other things. She looks nice. She's a gorgeous woman. She's physically fit. She looks the part when it comes to the action. But everything else? I mean, it's obvious she doesn't have it. The one scene with Linda Carter, who had a cameo in the end credits, just completely obliterated her. And it just proves everything that I've been saying. She sucks. She's a block of wood. Maybe even a block of wood might have more charisma than her, because a block of wood might have a knot in there or a different kind of grain or something. Then Chris Pine, he is what he is. He's an average actor. But you could tell that he was actually trying, though, in some of his scenes. So I would say out of all the performances in this film, his is probably the best, but that's not saying much at all. Pedro Pascal, he was atrocious. He was just pure cringe. Just unfiltered cringe. I just could not stand watching this guy attempt to act throughout the entire movie. He's trying to be charismatic, and I don't buy it, because he's trying too hard. He's not actually becoming this character. He just is trying to be as over the top and flamboyant as he possibly can be. And he's not a capable enough actor, and he doesn't have enough charisma to pull that off. There are other actors that can work with that, like Gene Hackman, but Pedro? No. I vote no. I am not voting for Pedro. And to me, he should just stick to wearing the Mandalorian armor. Because what I've seen here, not impressed. But hey, maybe he will, change my mind and with other roles. And if he does, I'll be the first to admit it. But yeah, he was awful in this. And he was the main villain. And he wasn't an intimidating presence at any point. He was about as intimidating as John Cryer in Superman 4. Robert Vaughn in Superman 3 put more chills in my spine than Pedro Pascal. And Kristen Wiig, she really has maybe one or two or three levels when it comes to her acting ability. She's the quirky, awkward comedian. She's serious, or she's sad. And I would say when it comes to Kristen Wiig, it seems like anything that isn't just a quirky, awkward girl is out of her comfort zone. And after all of these roles that she's gotten and she's obtained over the years, she hasn't progressed as an actress. She was supposed to be stern and serious and intimidating as Cheetah, and it was laughable. It came across as if she was doing a bit on SNL. Horribly miscast. So even if they did go with the idea of Cheetah being the main villain, if Kristen Wiig was the casting choice, the film still would have sucked. So yeah, cast, complete misfire for the most part, just like the majority of the movie. The pacing for this film is lethargic. There's just so many scenes that are just dead in the water. Just don't go anywhere. It's the car that I'm talking about just stalls on the fucking freeway. And there's no one there to come for help or to fix the engine or even get a tow truck to tow it away. It just stays there. Just killing time and killing brain cells. Because there's really nothing that compelling about this movie when it comes to the plot, when it comes to its characters. You're just waiting for it to end. And it takes forever to do so. And the action sequences, when they are there, they're not impressive. They're not exciting. They don't get your adrenaline pumping. They're not memorable. They have the thing in the beginning with the Amazonian Olympics. You have the mall sequence, which is just stupid and silly. And then you have like this one scene, which is like a car chase that really wasn't much of anything. You have a little showdown between Barbara and Diana in the White House. You have the fight between Cheetah and Wonder Woman, and it's like 3 minutes. 3 minutes. After all this build-up, the fight's only 3 minutes long. In a movie that's like 2 hours and 30 minutes. There was no reason for it to be that long. And I know this is a long video. But you know what? I got a lot of shit on my chest when it comes to this movie. And damn it, I'm going to take however long it takes for me to get it all out. But yeah, it's just way too long of a movie. This did not need to be 2 hours and 30-something minutes. Why is there a new trend where every comic book film seems to think it needs to be the length of Titanic or close to it? This film would have been a lot better if it was like the trailer, where it was tightly edited, it was tightly wound, it was an hour and 40-something minutes. It was fast paced and fun, but that's really not what we got here. So yeah, the pacing, just way too slow. The score by Hans Zimmer, I don't even remember a single note. And for a film that takes place in the 80s, they didn't use that many 80s songs. They didn't use the instrumental for Blue Monday at any point in this movie, which is a huge missed opportunity. They didn't have an 80s new retro wave soundtrack. They didn't have any synths. I had a hard time saying synths because I'm so baffled as to why there were no synths in this soundtrack. It takes place in the 80s. You can't have an 80s throwback film and not have any synths. It makes no sense. Cinematography at times with Matthew Jensen looked nice, looked pretty. For the most part, the film does look good. I would say that's one of the positives. It looks good. Definitely looks like there was a budget behind things. The editing by Richard Pearson could have been better, but I'm not really going to blame the editor. I'm going to blame the screenplay. Too many ideas, too many games of whack-a-mole, and there's really not a whole lot the editor can do at that point. Yeah. Oof. This was just disappointing, boring, lackluster, lazy, and just a total blunder. And that's the truth. I mean, the critics were right on this one. This was not a good movie. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this ridiculously long review. My apologies, but like I said, I had a lot I wanted to say. And when it comes to films like this, they're just disappointing, that I had expectations for, that I was looking forward to. These are the ones that I tend to put the most thought into, for better or worse. And the ones that I usually have the most to say, because there's just, you know, could have been a lot better. Just tighten things up. Focus on one villain. Don't do the wish plots. Have more action sequences that are genuinely dynamic and fun. But it probably still would have sucked because Gal Gadot can't fucking act. But anyway, you can work around that, though, by having it be more of an action movie. So then you don't have to rely upon her and her cardboard presence and cardboard acting abilities. But, yeah. That's my review of Wonder Woman 1984, and I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you later. See ya.